Hello, I'm Mike Gordon, and welcome back to my perfect playthrough of Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn. And having finally completed Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic & Knuckles, and all the Sonic & Knuckles lock-on games, including Blue Sphere, we are now ready to take on the main attraction of Sonic Jam. The unique Sonic World. That's right, our first ever taste at a proper 3D Sonic game. It is only available on the Sega Saturn. I will acknowledge that pattern a bit. Right now I just want to go ahead and explore this place a bit. Now, to be fair, this is just a little mini game. It's more accurate to call it a tech demo. So while I go exploring this area, I'm going to try to track down all these tags. I think there's 7 or 8 of them. I need to press this. Alright, this is code 4 for Sonic 2. This is the act select for the options, tiles, and during the game. So I'm just going to... Oh, I have to press jump again. So while I explore this area, collecting all the rings I can, I'm actually going to try to track down all the game tags. This is really just a tech demo, though, for a theoretical 3D Sonic game on the Saturn. What an actual 3D Sonic platform would have looked like on the Saturn. And the reason why they put this together, it involves a very long story. Code 1, Sonic the Hedgehog, Active Sound Select. I actually used that one when playing through Sonic 1 on the easy difficulty setting. And I will visit these buildings after I'm done exploring everything, because each of them have their own things to talk about. This is for Sonic the Hedgehog, slow frame skip, and during game allows us to... basically allows us to get debug and frame buffering and whatnot. Frame skips while paused. So I'll try to get on the top of the street and try to adjust the camera. So as I was saying, oh yeah, I was looking for that platform where the next tag is going to be. This will be important for next time when we actually take on the missions for Sonic World. Code 7, Sonic 2, 14 continues in credits. There is the code for that. So basically what happened, development cycle for a 3D Sonic game for the Saturn that was supposed to come out in '96 became so hectic that they wound up canceling the game. And the preliminary work had started by Sonic Team did start some preliminary work for a 3D Sonic title that would eventually become Sonic Adventure. Sega ultimately came to the decision to essentially kill off the Saturn. More codes for Sonic 2. This gives you all the Chaos Emeralds right at the start, so you can turn Supersonic. So basically, because they had to cancel whatever work that they had done on Sonic Jam up to this point, on Sonic Adventure on the Saturn, and move it over to those Dreamcast, to their next console, the Dreamcast. But not wanting not wanting all the work they did on the Saturn version of Sonic Adventure go waste, they reused the assets that they had already completed on Sonic World. The other reason why they made Sonic Jam in the first place was literally to give Japanese audiences another shot at the blue blur, especially since the Sonic games on the Sega Genesis were actually commercial failures in Japan. I hear Tails. If you tag him, he will give you a ride. That's not really important. He doesn't take you anywhere that only he can reach. But keep that in mind for a future quest. And here's some more rings and another tag up here. So yeah, they created this whole world called this 3D world called Sonic World, so that the Saturn would at least have some semblance of a proper 3D Sonic game on this exclusive to the Sega Saturn. So they basically lumped this in alongside a compilation of Sonic's 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles. Especially since the Saturn was the only Sega console to have been that was actually successful over in Japan. Every other console Sega developed, including the Genesis itself, was a commercial failure. And those are all the rings, and I'm trying to think. There's one last tag somewhere. There's one last tag. One last cheat tag, I think. I'm trying to find it. I have all the rings. There's only 100 rings. And yes, you're not in any danger of dying, or because there are no enemies here, and you can't drown in the water. So, alright, I think I have them all. Found them all. So, I think this is our first. Okay, this is gonna be our first museum stop. And this is going to be pretty much the entire rest of this episode. Now, this house has two sides. One for the hero sides, like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, that I get to press R and L to shift to. This is wrong. Sonic is supposed to be 15, not 16. But I like that he likes fast-moving things and music. Yeah, he's a bit of a DJ. And these are all anime-inspired concepts art for Sonic. Like anime-inspired sketches, I would say. Now, the idea with Sonic, in order to get global appeal, was basically a model after our classic cartoon mascots, like Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. In fact, he takes heavy inspiration from those figures, but with a 90s attitude. I would say the inspiration is more in line with Bugs Bunny than Mickey Mouse. And this does carry over into the TV show The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright, this information is pretty accurate. He's supposed to be 8 at this point in time. Oh, later on he will be aged up to 12 because floating timeline. That and it'd be very difficult to get child voice actors to voice a character over the course of many years. So, as I was saying, they canceled the development for this 3D Sonic game. I will go into more detail on what this Sonic game was supposed to be, because they had missed the Christmas deadline and they were nowhere close to finishing development for the game. They weren't anywhere close to being finished developing the game. And Sega of Japan was about ready to pull the plug. And Sega as a whole were about ready. The age here is inaccurate. He's supposed to be 16, not 15. They had swapped Sonic and Knuckles' ages for some reason. So, and because Sega basically were planning to kill off the Saturn and dub it a commercial failure, at least on a worldwide scale, they also decided to scrap the planned 3D Sonic game. But to make up for it, they poured over 3 Blast. They also commissioned a racing game by the same people that made 3D Blast, Sonic R, that would have also imported some exploratory and platforming elements to it, because Sonic never got a proper 3D platformer. And they ported the classic Sonic games onto the one Sega system that was actually a hit in Japan, alongside this 3D tech demo for Sonic. And that's the results. This is why there are many people that would... And many people who have played Sonic Jam do rate as arguably the best Sonic game ever made. And certainly the best Sonic game released on the Sega Saturn. But I don't know, I like 3D Blast, I like Sonic R quite a bit, but yeah, you get Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles. Yeah, in this port, you get different customizable difficulty settings. I do think this is probably the best way to play classic Sonic 1, because they did the spin dash feature here, and okay, this side is the villain side of the house, so you get tags on Dr. Robotnik, his badniks, as also the enemies and machinations of throughout the course of the entire franchise. He acts like a child, regardless of his PhD. Yeah, Eggman is a classic example of a cartoon narcissist. What is interesting is that 1997 is around the time that the Archie comics decided to kill off Dr. Robotnik, where he would remain dead for a good part of a year or so. They actually killed him off through a 4-issue story arc known as Endgame, which culminated into the 50th volume. They would eventually bring him back around issue 75 though, but with the Eggman design that we all know and love today. By the way, I will be making use of the extra space on the right hand side when we get to some of the bonus features here. So, yeah, I will say this, Sonic Jam is pretty comprehensive with Sonic's history and all the art and designs. There is some stuff that is missing or doesn't get mentioned at all, and I will bring it up on the right hand side when it comes, or at least if I think it's relevant enough. So yeah, Car Killer and Bastiron. I like that we get the accompanying katakana go along with Japanese katakana go along with it, so you know what the names would actually look like in Japanese. Grabber, Coconuts, Masher, Octa, Spiny. And by the way, it should be noted that the badniks in the first Sonic show, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, are all fully modeled after the ones shown that appeared in Sonic 2. Including the titular Grounder and Coconuts. And when we get to them, Spiker from Metropolis, Aquas, and Oil Ocean, and Gora from Hilltop. Walton. Oh yeah, Mystic Cave. All from Metropolis and Sky Chase. Turtoid. The Clucker, though, it was the basis of inspiration for the Badnik Scratch. That's literally it. And all these guys are Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and they are actually just 3D models as opposed to sketches like in the previous games. Well, 3-esque, I suppose. Spiker and Mantis. Atbot and Flybot 767. Yeah, it's 767 because it was spelled out in Japanese. Snail Blaster, Clamor, and Penguinator. Two of these guys, one's from Carnival Night, the other's from Launch Base and then Ice Cap. And that's it for Sonic, because it's just Sonic 3 here, and then Sonic and Knuckles. This is not evidence enough that Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were meant to be one game. It's just how short the enemy section for those two games are. So yeah, that was the story. Sonic 3, a proper 3 Sonic game, one that was supposed to come out on the Saturn to contend with Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot, never saw the light of day. Because the Saturn itself was getting canned, Sega decided to can their 3D Sonic game. Not wanting to let all that work go to waste, they decided to package just a 3 tech demo on what a hypothetical 3D Sonic game would have looked like. And that's it for the mansion. Into a seat, and this is just a music player. So I'm probably just gonna skim through the BGMs because it's just pointless copyright. I just want to show off. Here it is. So I don't want to generate needless copyright. I'm just showing off the options here. And the music selection here was based on the original level order for Sonic 1. So, with Spring Yard coming before Scrap Brain, and Labyrinth coming before Marble. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Because Labyrinth was so difficult, though, they just decided to move Labyrinth to level 4. And Spring Yard was even easier than Starlight, so they sandwiched it between Marble and Labyrinth. These are just the sound effects, SDs. So, there is a music track of note I want to talk about with Sonic 2, now that we're coming up. So, in the base game, it is known as unused music track number 10, but BGM is probably not going to do the 16-bit integers. So, this is Death Ache, so it's probably going to be around 16 or 17. Right here. This track had stumped so many people for the longest time on where it was supposed to be played because it never played at any point in the base game. And believe it or not, it was originally going to play for a level that was scrapped from Sonic 2 called Hidden Palace Zone. You did see me play that zone multiple times during my perfect playthrough of Sonic Origins Plus, but for the base Sonic 2 game, it was completely cut and the music track went with it, with no other home to go to. So I'm just gonna let this play to the very end and then move on to the next track. So yeah, music track 17 here, but not in the base game was track 10. It was originally planned for a scrap zone. A zone that would eventually get re-implemented, but with a different music track altogether. Specifically, the Mystic Cave 2-player track. Most of these music tracks seem to be the same as before, except there's a lot more of them. Okay, so I think the reason why it is for the pauses is because the game is loading the new music player. So that was all I wanted to talk about with Sonic 2's music track, and there's one track that went unused. Sonic 1 and Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles don't have any unused tracks, though depending on which version of the games you played, they may have different music tracks for Carnival Night, Ice Cap, and Launch Base Zone. Because they were all tracks that were previously done by Michael Jackson. before he was removed from the music composition, from his job as music composer for that game. It was due to the first during the first scandal that Michael Jackson had gone through. Otherwise, I think I've covered my bases on pretty much every single one of these Sonic games at least once during one of my 3 perfect playthroughs across this entire franchise. So here's Sonic Jam's music. And of course they're loading up the new tracks. So yeah. I don't think I need... It turns out Sonic and Knuckles also has all of Sonic 3's music tracks, save for the ones that Sonic and Knuckles had replaced. I don't recall hearing this music anywhere. Oh well. So that's that here. Oh, the movie theater. I'm debating on whether I should bail for this. There is a little cheat where with a certain button combination, you can just view all of these openings on repeat. I will at the very least talk over the first 2 FMVs because they're for Sonic CD. I don't want to get copyrighted, and it's stuff that we've already seen during my perfect playthroughs of both Sonic CD and Sonic Origins Plus. Particularly Origins Plus because these are the Japanese versions of these tracks. To be fair, I do prefer the Japanese version of these tracks. It's just got a really nice fast tempo. It's the only problem is that it's a Japanese and they wanted something more Western. Just kind of funny because it sounds like there's a rapper that's trying to sound like a Japanese rapper trying to sound like a black guy. Ooh. And then you get the pop orchestra right here. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is great, man. I mean, I have a soft spot for the English theme as well. That's pretty kick-ass as well. But this is especially kick-ass. And I don't regret playing this theme song every time I played CD and Origins Plus. Especially since I already played the English version theme when playing Sonic CD as a standalone game. And here's the cutscenes here. Except this time there's no end credits accompanying it. It's just the cutscenes themselves. You would probably see something similar to this in the original Sonic Mega Collection, not Mega Collection Plus. Except it's the English version of the endings, and they also showcase the bad ending to go along with the good ending. Wait, that is the bad ending because Eggman's getting away with that time stone. Oh, wait, yeah. So yeah, the English version, but they also throw in the. by the way, this section was also for a scrap zone for Sonic CD. That second clip with the Batnik. But that's a little difficult to explain without playing CD first. Apparently, a bit of trivia, there were plans for a Sonic CD was originally going... Believe it or not, Sonic CD was originally planned to be a Sega CD port of Sonic 1, before they decided to turn it into its own game. They were also planning on doing the same thing with Sonic 2, just release a over version of that game to the Sega CD. But when they decided to go in a unique direction with Sonic CD and make its own game, the Sonic 2 CD was scrapped. And speaking of Sonic CD, this is actually a two-part AMV. Oh, sorry, was that? No, OVA, which is an official video animation, I think. I don't know, I'm just spitballing there. Basically what it is it's a direct-to-video miniseries. Basically this was basically a two-episode series, anime series that only released on VHS and DVD. And when ported over to the West, it was reworked as a motion picture called Sonic the Hedgehog the Movie. Once again, it was direct-to-video, and I would have absolutely loved this, and absolutely wished I got to rent it at some point. Back when I was a kid, visiting Blockbuster videos. I did eventually watch this thanks to YouTube, though. I don't think you can find it on YouTube anymore, but this was originally shown, but this was also at one point uploaded to YouTube complete and intact. It's okay, the film's okay. And it's actually the same animation team that worked on the anime FMVs for Sonic CD, in case you haven't noticed. Sonic the Hedgehog, for release in 1996. We would get it at around 98, I believe. And what else? There's a few other things. Ooh. Sonic? Oh, I hear the sunrise music. I think, oh, I know what this is. This is the Man of the Year video. And it looks like the animation team for this one was done by TMS. And you can tell it because those guys kind of look like characters from Animaniacs. And TMS is like a Japanese North American animation studio that's worked on a ton of Japanese and North American products like Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Batman the Animated Series, and Akira. Yes, the legendary 1988 adult animated feature Akira. This is clearly meant to take heavy Easter. There is very clearly some Japanese inspirations with the Sonic and Eggman designs, but with everyone else, they clearly look like they belong on the Animaniacs. So that was a cute little animation. I don't think we ever got a continuation, though. To say. Oh, Sonic Ride was another piece of scrap Sonic content. I believe I have a list of 10 or so canceled Sonic games, including Sonic 2 CD, which was just meant to be remake of Sonic 2 for the Sega CD. This was originally planned for a theme park attraction, though I'm not sure for which theme park. But it's a theme park attraction that was never realized. I have no idea if this was going to be like an interactive ride. Some of those theme park rides do have a little interactive game component to it as well, like an on-rail shooter. Not sure if this would have been the same thing or not, though. And we will never know, because we do not know what kind of ride this was originally planned for. And as you can tell, the 3 cutscenes here are really bad. So, I don't know. Alright, just crushed him already. So yeah, that was Sonic Ride in a nutshell. And now we get some Japanese Sonic ads. And get a general idea on what the promotion campaign for Sonic was been in Japan. And I think this is the reason why Sonic did not catch on initially in Japan and still struggles to catch on in Japan. It's clear that Sonic takes so much more of its influences from North America, even right down to its color scheme being red, white, and blue. And this is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, which is an ad for... What ad is... Oh, it's just an ad for the first Sonic game for the Genesis. Oh, no! It looks like... Huh. I was riding a spaceship, which kind of reminds me of a Sonic game I haven't done yet. But I will go over that in the next episode. All the remaining Sonic games I haven't done. And this is a Japanese ad for Sonic 2. So Sonic is very clearly much more Western leaning. Sonic 2 tried to meld influences, with the Death Egg being a direct nod to Death Star, and then Super Sonic being a direct nod to Dragon Ball's Super Saiyan transformations. Super Sonic is basically just Sonic as a Super Saiyan. Except he needs the Chaos Emeralds to turn Super, while Goku doesn't need the Dragon Ball. That's the only difference. But even with that influence, his design is very much Western-inspired, and I think Japanese gamers were kind of put off that Sonic is so heavily modeled after Western interests over Japanese. Interestingly enough, Sonic 1 and Sonic Adventure 1 were both big hits in Japan. But those are basically the exceptions, not the rule. Basically, every other Sonic game was a flop in Japan. No matter how hard they tried, they just couldn't get Sonic to work. And this is an ad for Sonic Spinball, which we already done a perfect playthrough on. Sonic Spinball. Not featured in this collection, but it was lots of fun. But still my least favorite Sonic game on the Genesis. Well, sort of. Alright. Another pretty kick-ass theme song. I think Sonic CD was another Sonic game that was actually successful in Japan. But then again, Sonic CD was basically a one-for-one sale with the Sega CD. It's only really successful relative to the CD sales. aka Sonic Chaos. Sonic Chaos has released in North America in the West, but Sonic and Tails in Japan. And this is, I think, Sonic Triple Trouble? Yeah, Triple Trouble. Which in Japan was titled Sonic and Tails 2. And this is Sonic Drift? No, it looks like, yeah, it's Sonic Drift. It's the first Sonic Drift, which did not see a release outside of Japan initially. And is there anything else? Alright, it's cycling back, so I'm just gonna exit out. Lots of load time, so we are done here. We saw all of these films. So that's it for our trip through the theater. So yeah, there weren't any developer interviews or anything like that, which is a bit of a bummer. But I guess they weren't quite there yet in Sonic Jam. So next stop is the art gallery. So this is mostly just Sonic, Sonic and Tails, and Sonic and Friends. Yeah, Knuckles is barely a featured character in this collection. And I get he's the new kid on the block, so to speak, but that's kind of doing our man dirty. And look, a Christmas card. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And Sonic kicking that soccer ball would be used as inspiration for Sonic Mania and for the first Sonic movie from 2020. Yeah, they reused that pose quite a few times. If I really want to, I could maybe make one of these like the posters for this video, but I'm not going to. Alright. So there we are. Halloween with Sonic and Tails. Christmas greetings. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. This is all kind of cute stuff. And this is definitely, and in the ways, in 1997, this is in a lot of ways the complete package for any diehard Sonic fan, no matter which part of the world you happen to be living in. So now Sonic and Friends, so it's like Sonic and some of those animal buddies that he saves, Tails and Eggman sometimes appear, and Knuckles appears sometimes too. And maybe other characters like Amy or, Rosie the Rascal, as she was known back then. Known as back in the day. Porky here? That's not his name, it's like Picky. Oh yeah, Picky. It's like Picky, Wicky, Flicky, Plucky, Dicky. There's Knuckles right there. A Sonic concert. Yeah, the band Dreams Come True did compose the music for most of the classic Sonic games. And still composes music for those games to this very day. Especially the first game. The first two games. And is also the reason why playing those games today is a bit of a copyright nightmare. That and shitty remixes, so YouTube channels can falsely claim copyright for material they do not own. So what you will not see anywhere here are Sally, Acorn, or Bunny, because these are Western creations. who outside of brief cameos in Spinball have never appeared in any Sonic game, I would say, not just classic era. And finally, the Hall of Fame, and I will be filling up the right-hand side with missing information. Genesis of Project Sonic, Sonic Dreams Come True is the name of the band. Sonic's debut was first announced on the 1990 concert tour Japan's mega pop group Dreams Come True. Huge Sonics were painted on the sides of their tour trailers. So that was technically his first appearance in Sonic history. And joining the release of Sonic 1 in North America and Japan were two promotional comics. The Sonic promotional comics done by Disney and the Sonic Story comic, which is a manga which I believe was done by Sega themselves. Don't quote me on that. Basically, these are they are basically the plot lines of the first Sonic game, but with the North American and Japanese in mind. And then with the release of, in between the release of Sonic 1 and Sonic on the Genesis and Game Gear, we got Sonic Eraser and Sonic Patrol Car, but only in Japan in around 1991. I don't have a precise date for the Sonic Eraser, but Sonic Patrol Car was December of 1991, which is around the same time as Sonic 1 on the Game Gear and Master System. Then we had Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, and around this time we started the production of the Sonic the Hedgehog manga, which lasted from 1992 to 1994. It's a bit bizarre. It's basically a normal hedgehog who turns into a spiky blue hedgehog by the name of Sonic. He was previously experimented on by Dr. Ivo Robotnik. And then, of course, the release of Sonic 2, also for the Sega Genesis. Honestly, other than the two Sonic 2 games, 1992 was a bit of a quiet year for Sonic, as well in Sonic game development. There were some scrapped games released during this time, but I will go over them in a future video. And then in 93, we would get the release of Mega Play arcade cabinets of Sonic 1 and 2, which you see here in these posters. I cannot get any images of these with no background, so bear with me on this. I just couldn't find them. And of course, we start seeing mass Sonic promotions, including like for the Pro Soccer League and Formula 1 Grand Prix as essentially promotional mascots for these two sporting events. So yeah, interesting to note. And this would last all the way from early 1993 all the way to the start of 97. So a really, really long time. And then 93, Sega Cherry Coke, Summer Tour 93. This began the launch of the UK comic series, Sonic the Comic, which lasted from May of 1993 all the way up to January of 2002. I don't really know anything about Sonic the Comic, other than that it is basically a dark, gritty retelling of the Sonic story. And the release of the first of the Sega Sonic arcade cabinets in my previous perfect playthrough of a Sonic game is Sega Sonic the Hedgehog arcade. Never saw release outside Japan though there were plans for it. But also exclusive in Japan are the Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter and Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop, also released only in Japan. I will go over those games in the very next episode. Of course, Sonic CD would release here, and alongside the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, we would also get Sonic the Hedgehog Sat AM for 93 and 94, and simultaneously, the adaptation of Sat AM, the Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog, which lasted all the way up to 2016. The same day that we got Sonic CD, we would also get Sonic Chaos on the Game Gear and Master System. By the way, it should be noted that the Master System was discontinued in North America in 91. as well as Sonic Spinball, which also released the exact same day as Chaos and CD. So other than the first Sonic game, we don't have any. And of course, Sonic became the first video game character to get his own Macy's Thanksgiving Day balloon. Unfortunately, it would be his one and only voyage. He would get caught on one of the towers and would wind up getting deflated. How disappointing. I kind of wish I could continue growing up see more Sonic. On the bright side, Pikachu seemed to have fared much better, becoming the second video game character to get a Macy's balloon. And shortly after CD, Spinball, and Chaos, we would get Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This was technically just a reskin of a Japanese game called Puyo Puyo, but with Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog characters thrown in. And shortly after the release of Mean Bean Machine for the Sega Genesis, if I just skip alright, we would also get, about a month later, we would get the Game Gear version of Mean Bean Machine as well. It should be noted that the only Game Gear Sonic games not to be poured over to the Saturn are the Sonic Drift games, Sonic Triple Trouble, and Tails Sky Patrol. And maybe Sonic Labyrinth as well. Yeah, I think Labyrinth. And then early 94, we would get the Sonic the Hedgehog 3. We would also begin the Sonic Sunday strips for also in the UK, as well as the French comic book Sonic Adventures. And then shortly after the release of Sonic 3, we would get Sonic Drift, but only in Japan. We will also get Sonic's Game World for the Pico, which I will try to cover in the next episode, but it's looking pretty dire that I will ever be able to play Sonic Game World on the Pico, unfortunately. Sonic Spinball on the Game Gear, and despite having a lot more time to work with than Mean Bean Machine or Sonic's 1 or 2 before it, this game is an absolute stinker, and is easily the worst Sonic game from the classic era. Easily. And then shortly after we would get Sonic Game World, we would also get our next Pico edutainment title, Tails Music Maker, and Sega appears in the MTV's Rock the Rock contest. Okay. And sadly, it's just like Sonic's Game World, it's looking pretty dire for Tails Music Maker making an appearance in the next episode. And then shortly after that, we would get Sonic & Knuckles, also released on the Genesis, complete with lock-on technology. That gave us Blue Sphere, Knuckles and Sonic 2, and the definitive Sonic 3 and Knuckles experience. And after that, we would get Sonic Triple Trouble for the Game Gear, never saw a Master System release. And around the same time, we would get Wacky World's Creativity Studio, only released in North America, though it can be argued whether or not it counts as a Sonic game. And then in 95, we would get Knuckles Chaotix. 95 is kind of a dry spell for Sonic games that also saw release but weren't featured here. Basically, anything Sonic related does feature here in 95. We would get Sonic Drift 2, and this time it would make its way over to North America, unlike the first Sonic Drift game. Honestly, I think the Drift games are some of the best Sonic games on the Game Gear. Absolutely great stuff. Tails Sky Patrol, probably my least favorite Sonic game outside of Spinball, and just like Sonic Drift 1 before it, Tails Sky Patrol never saw a North America release, though it did see a release in PAL territories. We would also get the Sonic 3-in-1 collection for the Mega Drive, though Genesis owners would not get to own that copy until 97, making it the last official Sonic game released in North America on the Sega Genesis. Tails Adventure on sale. Unlike Tails Sky Patrol, did see a global release on the Game Gear. Depending on where you are, you might have also gotten this on the Master System. Sonic 2 and 1 on sale. This is the Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 sold together, as well as Sonic Labyrinth, which saw a worldwide release but never saw a Master System port. I don't think it's as bad as many people opine. It's not one of the greatest games of all time. It's okay. I think, the Sonic run is really slow mechanic is what bugs people. Around the same time, we would get Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, North America in 97 though, but it was released in 96, so I'm showing off in Japan, which is why I'm showing it off here now as part of a 2-part video animation series. Original video animation, OVA. So I was right, OVA stood for original video animation, so I was right. And then we get Sonic Championship in the arcade, later renamed Sonic the Fighters, thanks to Sonic Gems Collection, probably because that was the actual name of the game in Japan. And then we would get Sonic CD pour over to the PC, and we would get our third edutainment game that's looking pretty dire. The odds of me playing this game, that's Sonic Schoolhouse, which is a shame because I would love to play Sonic CD for the memes, but we would also get Sonic 3D Blast for the Genesis and Saturn, and of course, it's not mentioned here, but we would get a PC port for our 3D Blast as well. It is mostly based on the Sega Saturn version though, just with unique special stages and some missing graphical flourishes here and there. And then, of course, the last Sonic game released in 1996 would be Sonic Blast. No relation to 3D Blast, and it takes on more of a Donkey Kong style approach. Only saw a Master System release in Brazil, but not as bad as we. And what would be released after Sonic Screensaver would be Sonic Jam, Sonic R, and Sonic Underground, the last of the North American produced Sonic cartoons produced by Deke Entertainment. Otherwise, this is as far as we will go, as far as the classic era of Sonic. Because there's nothing else past this point, because Sonic Jam came out. Oh, right. And Sonic continues to spin toward the future. Nothing will stop it. Nothing except the abrupt death of the Sega Saturn in a 1-year hiatus as we wait in anticipation for the Sega Dreamcast. And, oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so what's going on is I'm struggling to try to get out of there, so I might have selected like the Sonic Screensaver tab by mistake. Alright, so we've got one last episode, we've got mission mode, but before we take on mission mode, I would like to show off all the remaining classic era Sonic games. There are 8 of these missions waiting to be completed, so I will be working on these next time. As well, furthermore, I will also be working, we take this exit here, and we are out of here. In addition to Sonic World's mission mode, which will bring Sonic Jam to a close, we are also going to take a look at the remaining classic era Sonic games next time on Sonic Jam for the Sega Saturn. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. With all the way, this is Mike Gordon, sign out.